We're back again with the Real People multiplayer solitaire mega tournament, and we are playing Imperial 2030. It's our second session, and we left last time with the question, what will our two men without mustaches do? We have Otto here, who just lost control of Europe to Hair Bear here, and he has to decide what he's going to do. So let's get right back into it. Otto's ticked. He's mad. He wants to have control of Europe because the United States was kind of his whipping boy. He was really hoping Europe would pull off the money for him, and Europe still can. However, he doesn't know that Europe's not going to just go ahead and turn on the United States. Hair Bear does have a little bit invested in the U.S., but it's not really enough to totally sway his actions. So what Otto wants to do is he wants to import, he wants to produce, and he wants to be ready for a strike. However, the investor card is hitting him next. So as soon as he moves to the United States, he has the investor card, and look, he has no money. So what's he going to do? I think his cool head is going to prevail, and he's going to invest. Only a few countries have had turns since we last checked in. I just had a film to say I've never played this game with all men before, and I didn't really consider myself to be a sexist, but I'm starting to think I am, because this is turning out to be a total sausage party. So basically what happened was the USA invested. Otto got his money there. And then big man here decided he didn't need to tax Europe. He just wanted to build up Europe even stronger, which, you know, maybe he had a point. Europe is flush with cash. Who can say? It would be probably nice for all the investors if Europe moved on that power track. But who can say? And then Russia passed the investor line. So what did Otto do? He spent $4 million of his money on more Europe bonds just so he could get control. Now he has $13 million in Europe. Hair Bear has $12 million. So they're just going to pass it back and forth, and it's going to really run up Europe's stock. It's all going to be sold out, and then I don't know what's going to happen. I've never had this kind of aggressive situation in the game before, both in real life and with real people. Yeah, we've had a few more turns, and we have our first Swiss bank holder is Bird. He lost control of India to Chappie, who has finally managed to get some money back from Russia with a recent taxation. In other news, Otto's kind of going back to his old strategy again of using the United States to beat down on Brazil and expanding heavily with Europe. If Europe is able to keep, some portion of these flags on the board, when tax time comes around, it's going to be quite the bundle. It hauls in, quite the haul it bundles together. Hair Bear, the big man, is looking a little bit smaller right now. So there was a big kind of counter buildup between Russia and China going on. Russia did production with factories. China did a lot of imports because China doesn't have the factories. Russia expanded all around China borders, kind of did a sort of containment sort of thing. China kind of stupidly struck back and just took out a lot of Russian tanks, maybe hoping to get more money during tax time, but left itself really weak. Kind of had its only safe haven down here. Not really thinking that the Russian player also now controls India, and so India came in. Things are not looking very well for the Chinese people, who earlier seemed so healthy and robust. Fun choice for Otto right now. It's Europe's turn. Europe's here in the roundel. Would sure be nice to get some of this cash back into Otto's pocket on the investor space. However, look who has the investor card. Hair Bear. Hair Bear would have enough to retake Europe if he gets the European money that he would get from the investor space. So, looks like Otto is going to have to bypass his own payoff in order not to lose control. Because he wants control. He wants to have control. He's probably going to just produce. Under the leadership of Hair Bear, China is beat down, and Brazil, under Demi's leadership, is beat back. The remaining 4 countries have sort of formed into 2 poles. We have Chappie's contingent, which is India and Russia, and they're doing all right. They're having some moderate growth. They don't have a lot of land, but they're alive and have some military. Now, Otto's group, Europe and the United States of America, especially Europe, has spread quite a lot. That's some thin spreading, however. So, he could lose that soon. However, Russia and India have been occupied by China, allowing Otto to kind of grow unchecked. I own a whiteboard and I'd love to show it to you. I wrote up here the different people and what they have major stakes in. And then down here, I wrote the different countries and who has a major stake in that country. And what you can kind of see by that, actually you could probably see it better if I just showed you the investors, but I think it's important to know that I have a whiteboard. What you can see by that is that there's actually those 2 poles I was just talking about, the Europe, United States Otto group, and then the Russia, India, Chappie group. Each kind of have a junior partner, which China with the United States and Europe. Hair Bear has a lot of stake in both Europe, and he's starting to invest in the U.S. because he couldn't invest in anything else. And then Chappie has Russia and India, but Bird invests in Russia, India, and Brazil. Now the only difference is Demi here. He has the controlling stake in Brazil, and in fact I'm going to move away from the whiteboard now. Has a controlling stake in Brazil. However, he also, his next biggest stocks are in Europe and China. So it's kind of the weak link in those 2 halves. However, our Swiss investor could very easily take over Brazil at any moment if he's so inclined and had the investor card. Demi just did a fun little maneuver. He has what's probably very temporary control of Europe. Otto's got sitting on enough money to take it, and he has the investor card. So, and there's a herd right there, right, just ready to cross the line. So on its turn, he maneuvered, and basically what he did, he still has a large investment in Europe. However, Europe's been under Otto's control, really harrying Brazil, which is his next biggest investment. So what he did was essentially dismantle the European navy by just attacking. So Europe's still in okay place. He did some maneuvers to kind of counterattack Russia, who's invaded, but got rid of the navy in the process. Europe's come around the rondel again to investor, and Otto, having regained control of Europe, has the same choice he had last time. If he decides to reap the 9 million in interest he has coming to him, Hair Bear will get 5 million, which is enough for him to take control of Europe on his next investment opportunity, which is coming up. So once again, he is going to have to pass. So we're starting to see a mustachioed beta male bidding war for control of Brazil, kind of similar to our alpha male bidding war control bid off for Europe. Bird just got control of Brazil, and our guy Demi is now the proud owner of a Swiss bank. So basically they have different goals in mind. So Demi is going to be a lot more friendly to the Europe, US, China kind of pseudo coalition, whereas Bird, he wants India and Russia to do far better than Demi. So that's going to be the main difference in play there. And Brazil's actually doing a good bit better. It kind of has its comfortable sphere of control built up, despite the fact that Otto has the US and Europe and is pretty much solely using the US to beat down on Brazil. Hair Bear is back. What happened was Brazil landed on an investor, really had no choice whether Bird wanted to or not. The Swiss investor Demi could make him. That allowed for enough of a payout for Hair Bear to get what he wanted. How he ended up having enough funds is he pulled off a decent taxation from China. Oddly enough, China just decided to not worry about the Indian armies in his country and just got a bunch of flags down here. Those have since, a lot of those have been taken back by India, so you can't really see them there. India is under the control of Chappie, if you recall. Chappie was kind of using India as his beat stick against China and trying to score points with Russia. He's since kind of reversed tactics against Europe. Europe's got hit hard by Russia right there. 3 tanks. He opted not to destroy the factory, thinking that he could just spread out and just kind of inhibit Europe's production capability by maintaining a presence, and then use India to spread out over Asia, pretty much have Asia and Africa to itself. That's Chappie's plan. So Hair Bear has Europe now, but is it as attractive of a Europe to own? I don't know if that investment is going to be quite so good now that Russia has. So Europe just taxed again, and it's become striking, this huge stack of cash. I've never seen this in any of my Imperial 2030 games before, and I think it's a perhaps natural result of this tug of war between these two big men over Europe. That's right, Otto has been upgraded to big man. Europe's turn again. Europe has the opportunity to land on investor, distribute some of that fat cash, but Hair Bear does not want to do it. Look who has the investor card. Our friend Otto. If he were to pull in 9 million of that money, he could certainly regain control, and with a much hardier lead than we've seen before. So let's look at how things sit before we finish for the evening. Hair Bear has both Europe and China. China has got control of its country back. I don't know if it's going to be able to make it beyond the ×1 portion before the game's over. It's probably not going to be too much of a priority for Chappie to beat it back down. At this point, it's really trying to slow down Europe so that either Russia or India can come ahead quite a bit more before the game ends. To that end, I believe he has a chance. You know, Europe's really kind of shrunk. Right now, Europe's only going to pull in, like 6 points for tax, which is 1 space, unless things change. And it doesn't have a lot of opportunity to regain its forces, nor can China really help it. Neither can the United States of America. Brazil is on the move, and if our guy Demi were to retake control of Brazil, he might be able to do something to help Europe out. Before I officially call it quits for the night, I have something very special I want to show you, and it is this. You know what this is? Beyond money of the future, this is money of the future that belongs to this individual here. Mr. Chappie has finally gotten some return on his investment, and that's exciting to see. Whether he wins this game or not, that he at some point beyond the beginning, he went from being broke to having something in his pocket, some spending cash, some pride, and I think that's special. See you next time.